NEC Article 352 covers raceways for surface wiring and includes pre-wired assemblies in non-metallic raceways. NEC Article 354 could potentially be used for pre-wired assemblies buried underground. Pre-wired assemblies typically consist of non-metallic raceways such as PVC or ABS, with pre-installed electrical wires and components like switches and receptacles. The use of pre-wired assemblies offers several advantages, including time-saving installation, reduced labor costs, and improved consistency in wiring. When using pre-wired assemblies, it is important to check local building codes and regulations, as requirements may vary. A variety of manufacturers offer pre-wired assembly solutions, including Legrand's Adorn Collection, Lutron's Caseta Collection, Leviton's Decor Smart Collection, Eaton Wiring Devices Smart Circuit Collection, and Cooper Wiring Devices Halo Home Collection. Many websites provide useful information, like wiring diagrams for pre-wired assemblies, best practices for installing pre-wired assemblies, and tips for choosing the right pre-wired assembly. When planning an electrical installation using pre-wired assemblies, carefully review the relevant NEC articles. Article 352 addresses surface raceways, covering requirements for materials, installation methods, and permissible uses. Article 354, concerning non-metallic underground conduit, could apply if the assembly is intended for burial. It's important to note that the NEC provides minimum safety standards, and local codes may have additional or more stringent requirements. Always consult with your local electrical inspector to ensure compliance. Selecting the appropriate pre-wired assembly involves considering several factors. Firstly, determine the required voltage and amperage for the intended circuit. Secondly, choose an assembly with wires of the appropriate gauge for the load, referencing NEC Table 310.15. Thirdly, verify that the raceway material is suitable for the environment, considering factors like temperature, moisture, and exposure to chemicals. Fourthly, ensure that the pre-installed components, such as switches and receptacles, are of high quality and meet applicable standards. When installing pre-wired assemblies, follow the manufacturer's instructions carefully. Proper support and securement of the raceway are crucial to prevent damage and maintain the integrity of the wiring system. Ensure that all connections are tight and properly insulated to prevent short circuits and ground faults. Grounding is a critical aspect of electrical safety. Pre-wired assemblies typically include a grounding conductor. Connect this conductor to the appropriate grounding terminal at each device and to the system ground. Refer to NEC Article 250 for detailed grounding requirements. Consider using a multimeter to verify the continuity of the grounding path. Proper labeling of circuits is essential for future maintenance and troubleshooting. Label each pre-wired assembly with its corresponding circuit number and the devices it serves. Use a permanent marker or label maker to create clear and durable labels. Consider using a circuit directory at the electrical panel to provide a comprehensive overview of the entire wiring system. Regularly inspect pre-wired assemblies for signs of damage, such as cracked raceways, loose connections, or frayed wires. If any issues are found, repair or replace the assembly immediately to prevent electrical hazards. Ground fault circuit interrupters, or GFCIs, are essential safety devices in areas where electrical equipment may come into contact with water, such as kitchens, bathrooms, and outdoor locations. Consider using pre-wired assemblies that incorporate GFCI protection or installing separate GFCI receptacles in these areas. Arc fault circuit interrupters, or ASIs, provide protection against electrical fires caused by arc faults. ASIs are typically required in bedroom circuits and other areas where fire hazards are elevated. Explore using pre-wired assemblies that incorporate ASI protection to enhance safety. When working with electrical systems, always follow safe work practices. Firstly, to energize the circuit before making any connections or performing any work. Secondly, use appropriate personal protective equipment, such as safety glasses and insulated gloves. Thirdly, never work alone, and always have a qualified electrician supervise any electrical work. Electrical codes and standards are constantly evolving. Stay up to date on the latest requirements by attending training courses, reading industry publications, and consulting with experienced electricians. Compliance with electrical codes is not only a legal requirement, but also an essential aspect of ensuring safety and preventing electrical hazards. Consider how the pre-wired assembly is rated and what the requirements for working space are to meet code. Pre-wired assemblies can simplify electrical installations, but careful planning, proper installation techniques, and adherence to electrical codes are essential for ensuring a safe and reliable wiring system. Regularly review and update your knowledge of electrical codes and best practices to stay informed and compliant. The NEC provides tables for calculating wire sizes based on the anticipated load, ambient temperature, and other factors. Consult these tables to ensure that the pre-wired assembly is suitable for the intended application. If the pre-wired assembly will be exposed to direct sunlight, choose a raceway material that is resistant to ultraviolet radiation. This will prevent premature degradation of the raceway and ensure its long-term durability. Some pre-wired assemblies are designed for specific applications, such as low-voltage lighting or security systems. Choose an assembly that is specifically designed for the intended use to ensure compatibility and optimal performance. Consider the aesthetic appearance of the pre-wired assembly. Choose a raceway color and style that complements the surrounding environment. Some manufacturers offer customizable options to match specific design preferences. When installing pre-wired assemblies in commercial or industrial settings, consider the potential for physical damage. Choose a raceway material that is durable and resistant to impact. Consider using conduit or other protective measures to safeguard the wiring system. In damp or wet locations, use watertight connectors and fittings to prevent water from entering the raceway. This will help to prevent corrosion and electrical hazards. When installing pre-wired assemblies in hazardous locations, such as areas with explosive gases or dusts, use explosion-proof fittings and enclosures. Ensure that all electrical equipment is properly rated for the hazardous environment. Regularly inspect pre-wired assemblies for signs of corrosion, especially in coastal areas or industrial environments. If corrosion is detected, replace the assembly immediately to prevent electrical failures. Consider using corrosion-resistant materials such as stainless steel or fiberglass in areas prone to corrosion. When splicing wires within a pre-wired assembly, use appropriate splicing methods such as Y connectors or crimp terminals. Ensure that all splices are properly insulated to prevent short circuits. Never use tape alone to insulate splices, as it can dry out and lose its insulating properties over time. When running pre-wired assemblies through walls or ceilings, use appropriate bushings or grommets to protect the wires from abrasion. This will prevent damage to the insulation and reduce the risk of electrical hazards. When installing pre-wired assemblies in attics or crawl spaces, ensure that the wiring is properly supported and protected from physical damage. Consider using conduit or other protective measures to safeguard the wiring system. When installing pre-wired assemblies in underground applications, ensure that the wiring is buried at the proper depth and protected from physical damage. Use appropriate warning tape to indicate the presence of buried electrical wiring. When terminating wires at electrical panels, use appropriate terminal lugs or connectors. Ensure that all connections are tight and properly torqued to prevent overheating. Regularly inspect electrical panels for signs of loose connections or corrosion. When working with electrical panels, always follow safe work practices. To energize the panel before making any connections or performing any work. Use appropriate personal protective equipment, such as safety glasses and insulated gloves. When installing pre-wired assemblies in areas with high electromagnetic interference, consider using shielded wiring to reduce the risk of interference. Shielded wiring can help to prevent noise and distortion in sensitive electronic equipment. When installing pre-wired assemblies in hospitals or other healthcare facilities, follow the specific requirements for electrical safety in healthcare environments. Healthcare facilities have stringent requirements for grounding, bonding, and isolation to prevent electrical hazards. Regularly inspect electrical systems in healthcare facilities to ensure compliance with these requirements. When installing pre-wired assemblies in schools or other educational facilities, consider the potential for vandalism. Use tamper-resistant hardware and enclosures to protect the wiring system from damage. Regularly inspect electrical systems in educational facilities for signs of vandalism or damage. When installing pre-wired assemblies in public areas, such as parks or sidewalks, consider the potential for exposure to the elements. Use weatherproof enclosures and fittings to protect the wiring system from rain, snow, and sunlight. Regularly inspect electrical systems in public areas for signs of weathering or damage. When installing pre-wired assemblies in agricultural settings, consider the potential for exposure to corrosive chemicals. Use corrosion-resistant materials and fittings to protect the wiring system from damage. Regularly inspect electrical systems in agricultural settings for signs of corrosion or damage. When installing pre-wired assemblies in marine environments, consider the potential for exposure to saltwater. Use marine-grade wiring and fittings to protect the wiring system from corrosion. Regularly inspect electrical systems in marine environments for signs of corrosion or damage. When installing pre-wired assemblies in recreational vehicle (RV) applications, follow the specific requirements for electrical safety in RV. RV have unique requirements for wiring, grounding, and bonding due to their mobile nature. Regularly inspect electrical systems in RV to ensure compliance with these requirements. The selection of pre-wired assemblies should also consider the specific application requirements, such as voltage drop limitations, grounding needs, and environmental factors. Proper planning and installation are crucial for ensuring the safety and reliability of electrical systems. Reviewing the NEC regularly helps with understanding and staying up to date with the requirements for electrical installations.